So today we are making Mary Maker's cookies, and these are my family's sugar cookies. You can even see right there my mom's handwriting where she's making notes. And holy cow, how many of the rest of you have recipes that look like this? It's actually coming apart so badly that we have photocopies to make sure it's all right. But today I'm going all science on my cookie making. So we are going to try out a technique that I heard about cornstarch in cookies. Try out cornstarch and see what it does to the cookies. So I've been doing some research because I've really gotten into decorating sugar cookies, and the recipe, the Mary Maker's recipe, I love it, but it expands a little too much. So I want to try and make it not expand. And I've heard that if you replace half a cup of your flour with half a cup of cornstarch, that it makes a very nice texture to your cookie and also has nice clean edges and that it doesn't expand. So we're gonna try it out and you get to come along for the ride. I've measured out all of my ingredients, and like I told you before, remember we're going to experiment with this recipe. You know, chemistry and baking are essentially the same thing. So you normally don't want to mess with the recipe unless you're experimenting with it and trying to figure it out. So who knows, the end result might taste terrible, but don't experiment on a recipe when you need to take it to your next potluck or try and deliver it to a friend. But as long as it's just for you and your family and you're like, oh, it's all right if they're a little weird, or we can pitch them in the bin if we need to. But the first thing that pretty much every sugar cookie recipe needs you to do is cream your butter and sugar. But this Mary Maker cookie that I told you about that we're making is a little unique as far as sugar cookies go, because instead of creaming together, granular sugar and butter, we're actually going to cream together powdered sugar and butter. So that does mean that when you turn the mixer on, things might go. There you go, that nice lightly creamed butter and sugar. Using that powdered sugar makes it just mix in easier, and you don't have the granular feeling that you have with some sugar cookies. Okay, so the butter and sugar is creamed together. I find it just easier to take the blade off to scrape it, and then I'll add in the rest of my ingredients. Anything that helps me cook easier in the kitchen is great. So just taking that blade off real quick, and then I give my bowl a good scrape down. And then we're gonna start adding in the rest of the ingredients. So I'm sure you probably have a favorite sugar cookie recipe from when you were a kid. Do you have any tips and tricks about it? If so, put it in the comments below so we can all learn from each other. So we've got our butter and sugar in, and then we are supposed to add in the eggs and the vanilla. Really, the vanilla is the only thing that I don't measure. I like a lot of vanilla. But don't forget to crack that egg into its own bowl so you don't get any shells into your mix. And, you know, people always tell you use good vanilla. Use whatever vanilla you got, but if you can get the more expensive stuff, it does taste better. This is what your dough should look like at this point once you've got that egg mixed in. Really get it mixed in, because earlier you would have seen it kind of really looking very separated, but now it's all mixed in and looking great. And now for the experiment part of the recipe. At this point, I've got my regular flour, but the recipe actually tells me I need 2.5 cups of the flour. And what I keep finding is the idea of replacing half a cup of the flour with cornstarch. So I went ahead and measured that out, and now we're gonna mix them together. I just wanna mix them before I put them in the batter to make sure it's evenly combined. The other thing that really makes this recipe awesome is the little tang you get from the cream of tartar. Now, because I am trying to make a recipe that isn't gonna spread a lot, I am actually getting rid of the baking soda in my recipe. So we're gonna see how those two things impact my recipe. Yeah, I'm a science teacher. You really shouldn't mess with two things at once. It kind of bugs me in class a lot, as all my students know. But I'm baking. I'm at home. I'm not doing a real experiment. And sometimes, you know, you just got to do two things because there's only so many things you can eat before you start going a little bit farther than you want, you know. I've got my flour and cream of tartar, and then I replaced that half cup of the flour in the recipe with half cup of baking powder. So now, here goes nothing. Get in there. Another quick scrape down in my bowl before I finish that mix. So far, the dough looks normal. Not only is cornstarch supposed to make the cookies not spread, it's supposed to give them a really nice tender texture. So I'll be interested to see how this turns out. And here is the final dough. We're gonna see what the texture that's like and how it tastes. I am just gonna roll these out and make sure that your rolling pin is floured more. Because that shouldn't have stuck like that. And this dough is rolling out so easily. Now, I have not refrigerated this one, and this is a dough that I do normally refrigerate. So I'm gonna test what it's like because that's supposed to be the other part of this magical cornstarch recipe that I'm testing, that you don't have to actually chill it. So we're gonna cut them out, bake these, see what they look like, and then I'm gonna chill some as well and see what happens with those. And I got these super cute new cookie cutters from my mother for Christmas. We got to try those out. And I will say that is a nice looking edge on that cookie. So let's see how that bakes up, and then we'll compare it to the size of the original cookie cutter to see if it did maintain its shape or not when they're baked. I will say that my son and I have already tasted these, and the taste is still good. They might be a little bit different, but he said good and gave it a thumbs up, so I'm guessing that they at least taste all right. But we'll see if the magic of the cornstarch works. Now, I know that a lot of you are probably thinking, oh no, don't re-roll the dough, because that's what a lot of recipes tell you. But like I said, this is the recipe, aside from minor changes that we made growing up. And my mom, can't tell you how many times she re-rolled that dough before finally letting us just nibble on what was left. So, all right. And if you don't have one of these rolling pins with the awesome gauges on it to tell you how thick your dough is, it is so cool. I really like mine. All right, again, look at that cookie. All right, let's see how it looks when it cooks. Here's the cookies. Not sure that they're really keeping their shape like they're supposed to, but we'll have to wait till the end of the experiment to compare them to my cookie cutters, but they've definitely spread some. So we'll have to see what happens when I refrigerate the dough. Here are the cookies out of the oven, and as you can see, they got a little bit overdone. I did them for 8 minutes, so I think I'm gonna go back to 7 minutes on the next one. But here is this cookie. And if you look at it from above, you can see it did pretty much stay in shape. It didn't expand a whole lot. But these ones that were supposed to have this nice corner definition, that didn't really stick with us. And then these guys also lost some of their definition. So I'm gonna try, like I said, doing some colder dough and seeing if that in conjunction with our cornstarch works. But I mean, looking at that one, it's pretty good. Okay, so all of the cookies are out of the oven now, and I ended up doing a couple different methods. So these guys over here were in the refrigerator. The dough was refrigerated, but then I just cooked it as soon as I rolled them out. And so that test that we were doing earlier, you can see that the cookie did expand some. So it wasn't perfect. Now these guys, they were refrigerated. I rolled them out and then I put them in the freezer before I cooked them. But as you can see, they still expanded. So I'm going with this trick. Didn't work so great. So we'll try another thing. So I'm still gonna ice these guys. They taste good. It probably is a softer texture. So it's probably a softer texture, but as far as did we find a way to make cookie dough not spread as much, I don't think so. See you next time.